And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 99th episode of Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, wearing the obligatory tech hoodie because today we're going to talk about what the roots of crypto are and why the Coinbase documentary misrepresents that horribly in a way that's got me fired up. I think tonight is going to be a fun episode. This is a spoiler alerts situation in a way, because I'm going to give you what I think about every different moment. Basically, I'm going to break down every single thing that happens in the Coinbase documentary, and then I'm going to give you my take on that. And so if that's something, if you're not interested in watching this episode before you watch the Coinbase documentary, I won't be offended if you log off now. But this is just something I feel like I have to do it, especially because here's the significance, okay? Coinbase becoming a publicly traded company is what Richard Hart used, that he publicly said he used to call the top on the day of Bitcoin, okay? So being able to kind of dissect this event in financial history, I think it's really important. And so that's part of the reason why I'm so fired up about it, is because I think it's really interesting how the Coinbase documentary shows us a window into the single event that caused crypto to top back about a year ago. Well, a little bit less than a year ago now. So with that being said, hit the like and subscribe button now. And let's get ready to do this review of the Coinbase documentary. Welcome.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. He does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff, like, as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.
Yeah. So the documentary, the real crypto documentary that's coming out about Richard Hart, that was produced by the Highest of Stakes team, that I think is going to blow this out of the water. This one that's been created by, Coinbase smashed a lot of records when they did their IPO last fall. And so I think, I think this is gonna be a great topic to talk about. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for being here. I'm going to start. So I took notes. So I watched the documentary twice because I was so shocked at how terrible it was and how obviously it was basically a piece of propaganda. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the filmography wasn't even as good as the Highest of Stakes previews that have been shared publicly. So that's saying something right there. I mean, the Highest of Stakes previews, those have looked so good. I mean, they're pretty much, industry leading. Anyway, so the title of my book report is Coin 2022. And the subtitle of this documentary is A Founder's Story. So pray to God that they will not make another documentary about Coin, but it looks like in the subtitle, they're leaving it open for a sequel. So that's pretty hilarious right off the bat. Maybe they'll get an award for some kind of comedy thing. So the first 11 minutes of the film, again, spoiler alerts, you can go watch it before you watch this episode. It's on Amazon Prime Video, and I haven't seen a good place that pirated it yet. And so I think you're looking at, it came out about a week ago, and you're looking at about $4 to rent it or $10 to own it. So the first 11 minutes, it gives the personal story of Brian Armstrong, the founder of Coinbase, that bald dude that some people know of. So Brian says Coinbase is bringing people an open, inclusive financial system. So right off the bat, we can see that this is going to be kind of a propaganda piece. In the first 11 minutes, there's no hint of controversy or anything like that. It's just like the, these great memories that Brian has growing up as like just kind of a privileged dude. So it does these quick, 30-second clips of interviewing his parents in his early life. It gives a little footage of his childhood. Then he had this big revelation after, I guess, he graduated school or whatever. He took a trip. He like moved to Argentina. And so it goes over like very quickly. It goes over, I guess, his background of what some moments in his life were, some high points and low points. There's a quick reference to he had a job at Airbnb. And then still in the first 15 minutes there, you've got Nas saying Bitcoin helps people who are poor no matter their diversity. And that, that's kind of a relative statement. I think that's a really, really, really cool goal for cryptocurrency, to try to solve poverty. However, the fees in cryptocurrency haven't been low for years and years and years. And, Coinbase charges a huge middleman fee, which is why they were valued at $100 billion when they went public. It was the biggest initial public offering in NASDAQ history, and maybe the second in financial history. So there are lots of people getting rich, but it doesn't seem like it's necessarily poor people. So that's kind of contradictory, and that's a point that I'm gonna contend with throughout my review here. So I kind of got the sense that the documentary, even in the first 15 minutes, was already just trying to be a puff piece to institutions. And they keep saying this is an inclusive financial system, but they don't give any examples of that. And I don't know Bitcoin to be super inclusive. It's so volatile that it doesn't really protect people in third world countries from their own inflation unless they get lucky. And look, if you create a Coinbase account, you're going to get marketed a bunch of shit coins along the side. And that's another thing that I found to be a big difference between how Coinbase works in real life versus how the documentary positioned it, because it was almost like they were also speaking to Bitcoin maxis. Like a lot of times I would have to rewind 10 seconds to even realize whether they used the word crypto or they used the word Bitcoin, because there was so much sleight of hand when they were doing that. So I could tell that a significant amount of brain power had gone into scripting everything that people said, so that you could listen to it as a Bitcoin maxi and be pretty happy. Or you could listen to it as a regular crypto user who doesn't even like Bitcoin or knows how trash Bitcoin is and like it as well. I mean, it makes sense for a Coinbase documentary to be Bitcoin centric because they started as a Bitcoin company. I will say that. But what I'm saying is the part where it helps poor people, it seemed like it was a bunch of talk and stock footage. It wasn't, here's an actual example of somebody that was helped. So that seemed disingenuous in a way, or kind of just a lot of talk and hype and a narrative rather than a reality. So then they start bringing in the Bitcoin celebrities, right? And these guys are such trash, or they rotate so quickly that, for example, Michael Saylor isn't even the CEO of MicroStrategy anymore. But that's what the documentary put in his subtitle. So it was released a week ago. I think, was it a month ago or something? Maybe longer. That was the last time Michael Saylor was not fired from his job as CEO of MicroStrategy, or whatever you want to call it, reassigned to something else after he lost them $1 billion or something crazy, hundreds of millions of dollars, by investing in Bitcoin at the top. So yeah, so the documentary kind of got that wrong. I thought that was strange. They also made an attempt to feature outside financial experts, and one of whom I really like is named Jacob Goldstein. He used to be on different NPR podcasts, such as Planet Money. They made a quote somebody said during the documentary that crypto needs to be easier and safe. And that's part of the problem that Coinbase addressed. And it seems like, yeah, that's true in a sense. The thing that I find really important in that, though, is that you can't lose your mission along the way. If you want to make crypto safer, that doesn't mean you should create a centralized exchange that then buddies up with the government and turns crypto into an Orwellian nightmare where they're really just making it easier to track and control people instead of really make people financially free. You got to be aware of people who say that they are that they're trying to give you financial freedom, and then the cost is your sovereignty and your self-custody. That doesn't add up. It's hypocritical. It's a lie, and it's ruining crypto. So, let's not brush that aside too quickly. My camera slowly slinks down during my streams. It's too heavy for the stand. Let me see. Okay, so Jacob Goldstein, cool dude. Okay, so now we're in between like 11 and 15 minutes in, and it starts to be about the startup. Coinbase, the startup, it's struggling. Brian didn't necessarily love the name Coinbase. He planned on, changing it later. He sucked at pitching the idea. There's his own real video footage from years ago showing how much he sucked at pitching even the idea of what Coinbase was going to be. I mean, I guess the users left to conclude that there's nothing special about Brian Armstrong or Coinbase. Not really sure why that is important or documentary worthy. Like, I guess anybody can do it. So that's kind of inspiring. I don't know. It seems kind of weird. Then we have Vitalik Buterin, 15 minutes in. He appears, as always, cute as a button, trying his best to communicate. Apparently, Coinbase tried to hire him. And the quote that he recounted was, he said, "Unfortunately, I'm busy with this thing, but best of luck to you guys on your journey." And that was kind of cool because, of course, he was busy building Ethereum, which is better than Bitcoin, some would say. Then there's a guy who gives a quote like, "Most startups are dumb. Otherwise, that business would already exist." That's some like spitting in some good truth. Now we're about 19 minutes in, and there's a video. So there's a video of these three guys who founded Coinbase, and they're spraying champagne around like nerds, like actual historical footage. And yeah, that was kind of funny. I don't know. Then they go back to work. Then they give a story of Bitcoin. So the documentary is then moving into the story of how Bitcoin made it in the mainstream. So they play a clip of The Good Wife, where the kid is saying the price of a Bitcoin is $3. And then there are other obscure video clips. Bitcoin is featured in the TV series Silicon Valley. And the founders of Coinbase have to make the decision to include Ethereum. Brian Armstrong is skeptical, but willing to expand to ETH. Then there's, most documentaries are like things that are noteworthy. They have a real conflict. And that was sorely missing in this propaganda piece, or whatever you want to call it. There was mild pushback for less than 2 minutes about Bitcoin from a senator, from Jamie Dimon, Warren Buffett, the Mt. Gox hack. And then it's back to positives. They show a clip of Big Bang Theory talking about it and Brian Armstrong presenting on stage. Now we're 22 minutes in. Being a co-founder is hard. And Brian and his co-founder are going to what the documentary equates as marital therapy. And so now we're minute 26. Brian gets coaching on how to do public speaking. He's on a plane with a woman coaching him. She says, "Your answers are wrong." which is weird because I didn't see anything wrong with what he had said, like the example that he was giving. So that seemed really weird. And then he's making the comment at that point, he needed to figure out how to become CEO. He was already the CEO from the beginning, but now he's got advisors around him that we'll see later in the movie are pushing him to care more about government than crypto. Really sad. It really saddens me. There's a lesson we can learn when we see the people who came before us failed in creating real change to the financial system. Oftentimes people they rebuild the old thing and pat themselves on the back for making a difference. And they're just totally in a bubble of people who say yes to them or give them some distractions. So Brian's in like his CEO coaching, with his CEO therapist, and says, I like making ideas and being introverted. And then the therapist is like concluding, well, that's who the tech leaders are now in the world. They're world-class programmers who have to kind of learn how to be socialites. Oh, and the CEO coach's name is Matt. He says, the elephant in the room is that you don't like to manage people and you're not good at it. And they're both like, yeah, yay. The CEO of Coinbase is bad at his job. And they're like, what a breakthrough. Yay. Just like so funny to me. The point that they've been trying to make throughout this whole thing, I guess, is that democratizing money is a huge deal. And they're using rhetoric to try to prove that instead of actually making real crypto products that help people take self-custody and encourage people to do that and reduce middlemen. No, they've become the middleman that sold the top on the day. And what's worse, they didn't even sell it for crypto. They didn't even sell it for, they didn't sell it for money that is probably going to make its way back into crypto necessarily. And maybe I could come up with some good reasons why an IPO would get more investors in who then can try to protect the ecosystem, but it seems like they'd be most likely to protect what they own. And crypto is about not centralizing and not owning the platforms and the technology. Like the technology is supposed to be decentralized. So that's where the documentary goes next, is they're trying to do some sleight of hand and like explain what a decentralized bank is, and then switch back to the topic without really addressing the fact that Coinbase is the opposite of a decentralized bank. And that's part of the problem. Another Jacob Goldstein quote, Bitcoin is brilliant because you trust the code. There is no boss. Now we're 36 minutes in. Coinbase has too many employees for Brian to keep track of. He doesn't make decisions anymore. They can't even use crypto for buying donuts in their company's practice of delivering a product. So that's it's not presented in the movie as like terrible, but it's pretty terrible if you critically think about it. That already, I think we're like already in 2018 or 2019 or 2020. And they're like justifying this as saying you're so early, but it's really, they just suck as a company, it seems. Minute 39, 2019, delete Coinbase movement happens over Coinbase buying a neutrino, which is some sort of like hacking technology so that they can surveil people, so that they can see where transactions are going, I guess is what was implied. So they have footage from Brian Armstrong streaming with Peter McCormick, who the Hex community knows well as like somebody who doesn't do his own research really, and doesn't even care to get the facts right, which he said multiple times and is famous for quoting that he doesn't try to be smart when it comes to his own area of expertise, which is pretty crazy to have Bitcoin gurus like that, fake gurus. Brian writes that they bought it but didn't realize how it violated their own values. That's not a good look, but also they try to make it into a good look. So it's like they're trying to, they're trying to dress up this whole turd of Coinbase, which, by the way, is like, oh, it'll be fun when we get to the part where we see how poorly Coinbase performed as an investment. I mean, it's horrifying. Minute 41, Brian, need to drive real work utility of Bitcoin because people are speculating on it. Brian's getting taught about economics. The chief product officer comes up with this great idea that Coinbase is a company from 2011 to 2019 couldn't figure out that they could estimate the amount of demand that comes to the product. And so they'll be ready for the next bull market, right? The company has to grow to thousands of employees before somebody comes along with this smart enough idea to like not have your centralized exchange go down when crypto is going up a lot. Like, brilliant, guys. Bravo. Like, glad you spent millions and millions of dollars to come up with that idea. Like, I think anybody could have told you that. So then they're comparing themselves to NASA. Like, oh, we're going to be like NASA. We're going to have backups of our systems. And then this is really cute. Then you've got, I think people say this twice in the movie. This company comes once in a lifetime. That applies to the entire crypto industry. So like those two statements are completely contradictory and nonsensical. And so it's like, I guess that's part of what gave me the impression that it was such like a paid puff piece for Coinbase and probably just, scraping the bottom of the investor bucket to try to, get people to buy this. It's not just a failing, like real crypto doesn't fail because it's decentralized and because it is about the tech. It's not just about the dollar price. And like everything goes down 95% and then goes up a lot, except for the things that sucked or were scams. And having a centralized exchange, while it's a necessary evil, isn't something that we should be celebrating, I don't think. Minute 45. Now we're back into the narrative that crypto has the highest potential in the undeveloped hyperinflationary world, which I don't see proof of. It's funny, proof wasn't ever used at all in this documentary. Like that concept was completely ignored, like it doesn't exist. Brian says we want to help people spark cryptocurrencies because that would probably bring more economic freedom. So it's sticking to the same narrative of like, we're helping people. We're not sure how, like we can't even keep our servers running when lots of people want to use crypto, but hey, like let's onboard the world, right? It's like, well, you just came up with the idea to not have your website crash when the price is going up. So that's pretty lofty. Then there's or irrational. There's footage of senators saying Bitcoin is all about crime. Now we're minute 49. Coinbase helps law enforcement. That seems strange, but they've got a whole division devoted to it. So they're up to no good there. I was going to say something vulgar, but I'll avoid it. Then I was questioning, like, I guess at that point somebody said Coinbase has 30 million users. That seems like a really low amount. And then the end screen, it said it had 100 million. So maybe that's how much they grew in this last bull run from 2019 to 2022. The most important tech is things we don't think about, like electricity running into our homes and water. Yeah, that's a cool point. That doesn't mean you should dumb it down so much that nobody understands what it is and what it isn't. But I agree, like start simple. Minute 51, Brian figures out how to manage his company during COVID. Quote. Okay, this quote is just going to say it all. I don't even have to say it. So this is Brian Armstrong speaking on a call with the other executives, like a video call that they recorded. He said, "This may just be me out of touch or something. I mean, I don't have kids, so let's put that aside for a second. People with kids at home, I mean. I feel like I'm just as productive at home in the past week, is why, but maybe I just deal with stress well. So help me out. What am I missing here?" So he like stumbled over his words. That was like, I was reenacting how he actually said it. And then this other executive is like, well, the vast majority of people, the vast minority of people have the best setup, like you and me, and have nobody in the room when you have to work from home suddenly during COVID. So it seems like it's actual footage of him being super out of touch, even in 2019, 2020. Now we're flipping back to Michael Saylor, and he's pontificating on how money's broken. And he found Bitcoin. So now he sees that it's the solution for 100 million businesses and every human on earth. The issue is that money isn't storing value correctly. So that is more out of touch examples that are like, you're trying to glorify crypto, but you're really just cheapening crypto's name because you don't have any proof of how it's going to help those people. And like, crypto is already good enough in its infancy now that it does certain things better, but Coinbase isn't helping crypto do things better. If you onboard people into something that's centralized, now you're just tracking them and you're giving up their information to law enforcement. Like, the word cryptocurrency refers to cryptographic proofs so that you can maintain your privacy. So it's, even calling Coinbase a crypto company is a lie in a sense, if you want to stay true to the original concept of why Bitcoin had to be created, because governments and central banks screwed everybody over so much in the 2008 and 2009 housing crisis, which was really a crisis of banks stealing from the economies all over the world. Then at minute 55, Brian's working on a laptop while riding a bike. It's like, dude, I get it. Like, that's a vibe in Silicon Valley, but why are you working so hard, man? Like, I mean, working hard is cool and everything, but like, so is self-care. That allows you to work harder. So maybe like stop working every once in a while just for 30 minutes or an hour while you're exercising. I don't know. If you're watching this, like, that's what I do. And I couldn't imagine myself exercising and doing work at the, like, I could listen to a podcast and exercise at the same time, but like being on a laptop, like, you just look like you're pretending, or you're really so bad at working that you have to work at the same time you're exercising. It just like, it adds to the insanity factor. I believe it's like, it's cool to work that hard, but at the same time, it's not cool to work that hard because you can work smarter, not harder. I don't know. You could argue that point. And then it's interesting because then in the same minute 55, then Brian is like asking his team of executives, like, how can we go public in a crypto native type of way? And he gives the example of like, well, we could turn our shares into something that we can list on our own exchange. And then all the people surrounding him say like, oh, you know, that's utopian and it's not there yet. And so then Brian's like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, I guess a direct listing feels more fair to me than any other type of listing. So he like totally caves on his own idea. That's not being a leader. That's being a follower. if you were really doing something so innovative that you think you deserve to sell your company to the public and give the public something useful, then you would imagine you'd be able to figure out how to do it in a way that aligns with your own values. And that's the message, like the music and the vibe throughout the documentary is really, it's presenting all of this as like a good thing. And it's like showing like, oh, this was a struggle, but it worked in the end. And it's like, I'm just sitting here critically thinking like, that's not like violating your own values and ruining crypto for 100 million people because now they think it's okay to centralize your coins and be tracked by the government. I mean, Coinbase doesn't even advertise that they're part of the Orwellian surveillance state, right? Minute 57 is interesting because that's the first time where they bring up what I consider to be like a real struggle, which is how Brian responded to people walking out surrounding the Black Lives Matter protest. And he ended up making like a policy on employee activism that actually touched other companies because people pointed to him as saying like, there needs to be a line somewhere where, you know, employees are not even doing their work anymore because they're politicizing their work environment. And I don't have a strong opinion on that personally. I think like it comes down to the exact context. I think people should be free to like express their own opinions. I think that when people are representing a company or a brand, then it's up to the company, I guess, to like decide what is going to be best for morale and for their own employees. Because the best way to change the world and to have good service and products is to have employees that are doing well. So if your employees aren't doing well because the nation is going through something, like kind of have to take time off and figure that out. You have to take care of people. So it seems like Brian kind of did a bad job of taking care of people in that example, but it was at least his first example of doing something that wasn't going to be popular and that could lead to a big, you know, like could lead to problems for him. He could have been canceled very easily for what he said, I think. I remember hearing about what he said in his letter, like that he gave to his employees and the stance that he took. I remember hearing about that in the ALLin podcast just in the past year and a half. Has it been 2 years now? Wow. I guess I've been streaming for 2 years and so has the ALLin podcast. And then, so one of the employees like that, I guess, walked out or got fired or didn't like this idea of censorship within the company was saying that censorship is a notion that's against Bitcoin. So, okay, now we have a real conflict that happened in the documentary, and they only spent 5 minutes on it, looks like, or less. So that's sad, but at least we got a peek, I guess. So Brian takes the stance, we want to be a mission-focused company. We're trying to solve economic freedom. So again, lots of cool stories, bro, but like, tell me how you're not going to just become a worse version of what already exists, which is interesting because on minute 62, that's what Senator Warren is saying, that she isn't convinced by Bitcoin because shadowy bankers aren't worse than shadowy programmers necessarily. And then it switches to like, well, now the only way for Brian to be a good CEO is that he would spend all of his time educating the government about crypto. And this is what innovation means. That's what the documentary is trying to program people with, is that if you want crypto to succeed, you have to work with the government, which is, I think it's good to take a balanced approach to this type of thing. You don't need to be adversarial. And I love actually Safety Amusa's take. He's a Bitcoin maxi and wrong about plenty of things and right about plenty of things. But I think his take that Bitcoin can be adopted naturally without a big fight, without replacing the dollar or anything like that. Just how it's been going so far. You know, Bitcoin was 6 cents back in beginning of 2011, and you know, now it's $20,000. So that, you know, there have been no wars fought. There maybe a couple examples of people going to prison for Bitcoin, but all in all, I think I can't really speak to that. It's just more, there hasn't been some dollar collapse, right? The dollar's stronger than it's been against other government currencies for years and years and years. Right now, it's stronger than the British pound and pretty much everything else. Minute 65. Brian's still trying to be practical. That's his stance. So he's trying to make good with the government. Minute 68. There's an economist that says it's nonsense that crypto will make a game that the government can't win because the government has to fight wars. I think that's really dangerous thinking, that that the battle's already over. It's kind of like, you know, you shouldn't vote because it's already decided who's going to win. Well, if everybody adopted that position, then it would be anybody could get elected. So it's that's why I say it's nonsensical, because it doesn't even stand up to logical scrutiny. Like, if something were to come along that led to massive innovation, the government might love it, because then the government still gets to do lots of cool things and still be in charge and lots of stuff. I don't think it's a one winner situation with currency. I mean, look at the world. There's not one currency. There's not one winner that takes all. It's just really silly to me. Really, really silly. Then Brian says, well, educating the government could take years. We have to keep building. Now in minute 70, Brian wants to give his co-founder more stock. So everybody's praising him for that. That's cool. There's a scene of them cooking together. Fred gets to be on the board. Minute 73, I get to see Hayden Adams, who's the Uniswap founder. And he's on for a few seconds. He's working with Fred, question mark. I'm not sure. Maybe Fred has a new startup where he's working. It's like, Uniswap is a really cool technology, but I think it's sold out because they got backed by Andreessen Horowitz, I think, and other people that like pressured them to do an airdrop. So I could say a lot of good things, a lot of bad things about Uniswap. The fact that we have a technology that allows for decentralized swaps between cryptocurrencies is like, that's a game changer. That's probably the second or third biggest invention since Bitcoin. First or second since Bitcoin in all of crypto, in the top 3 with Bitcoin. You got Bitcoin. That is a huge innovation. Then you've got Ethereum being a world computer that's supposed to be decentralized and not fill up with storage and make high fees. It kind of failed at that. Bitcoin failed at what it was trying to do, but it succeeded at proving the use case for crypto as a speculative instrument and something that could hold value digitally. Then you've got Uniswap that allows people to do swaps into other cryptocurrencies. That's pretty big. And then you've got Hex that allows you to store value over time and save yourself from yourself. So those are all major innovations. And then Pulse Chain should be the thing that forks Ethereum and then fixes ETH. Minute 75. So we're almost through the documentary. It's an 88-minute documentary, like an hour and a half. I'll get to your comments here too. Minute 75, Coinbase goes public with using Goldman Sachs as the investment broker. Then I was trying to for the next, I don't know, 4 minutes or something, there's a lot of trader talk, which was really hard for me. I had to rewind because they were talking so quickly about very specific numbers that I wanted to record, but they're basically showing how the number of shares of retail coming in to the price of Coinbase, the initial price that it's going to start at. Initially, the first guy is like, oh, 1.5 million shares are coming in of retail right now, right? Retail investors are the ones, the everyday Americans, not the institutions who have rigged the game, but the people who come along after and don't realize the game is rigged and get suckered into losing their life savings and blaming themselves, when really this is what crypto was meant to avoid as well, I think, is having a rigged system. And sure enough, here it's being presented, it's like dressing up a turd and trying to make it shine, polishing a turd. So they're saying, oh, it's starting price could be $340. Oh, right now we could have a starting price at $350 on 5.2 million shares. Now I'm realizing, in this very moment, I'm thinking to myself, wow, no wonder the top got called when the entire financial media conglomerate, the entire financial machine was trying to jam Coinbase shares down retail investors' throats so that they wouldn't have any money to buy real crypto anymore because they lost all their money on Coinbase. So now they're saying the indicative price, which is what they need in order to start trading, was $382 on 8.7 million shares. It keeps going up, and they're hyping it, and there's 5 minutes before trading starting. Coinbase again launched right before, on the day that was the Bitcoin top, basically. So Brian Armstrong is getting interviewed on CNBC live on Squawk Box as the shares are going public. So he's complicit in the financial crime of hyping this thing up, and then we're going to watch it drop and destroy tons of value, and also destroy the first principles of crypto. Is just the general thing that Coinbase is doing, which isn't mentioned at all or implied in the documentary. This is my interpretation, speaking my truth. And then the moment that the shares, this is the pinnacle of the movie. This is all the rising action has led up to this moment where the trader says, there's nothing cryptic about this. Coinbase Genesis trade is 8.8 million shares at $381, 3.5 billion notional, largest opening trade in NASDAQ history. Let's go Coinbase. And then the crowd cheers in the trading pit that's just a trading room floor, and they're going to the other trading floor and shooting shots of everybody cheering there. Yay! And they're saying this is the future of the digital economy. But what's really happening is they're setting up everybody to get wrecked on crypto. What's not even crypto. They're setting up everybody to get wrecked by the rigged financial system and pretending that crypto is the thing that's wrecking people. Right? The only reason companies IPO is because the founder doesn't think it's going to be profitable in the future. Why else would they take their capital out of something? Why else would they sell if they don't think it's the top? That's really well known in startups. It's not even up for debate. It seems like it should be up for debate, but it's not. It's this is a great example of that. Minute 81, Sailor saying, this isn't a once in a decade thing. It's once in the history of the human race thing. Well, I guess it's making grandiose statements like that that really don't have much backing them up that got you fired from your job as CEO, buddy. Now, yeah, so I made a note here as well that they've been doing a really good job of hiding between the term crypto and Bitcoin and kind of making it hard to even notice, at least for me, what they're which term they're using. There's kind of the quotes are the interviews are going so quickly between different people now they're really layering it on. Here's the resolution. Fred's dad is proud of him. Brian's parents still don't understand crypto. I find that extremely hilarious, straight out of their own mouths. But they're making it look like a good thing. It's, yeah. Minute 84, people are glad Brian and Fred are best friends again. End scene, Brian and Fred hiking into the sunset in a desert. Fred says, "Do you think you would have made a good frontiersman?" Brian says, "Questionable." And they ride off into the sunset with everybody's money that they got from rigging the financial system yet again. And not representing true crypto, but pretending like they are. Here's the end screen. Every documentary has an end screen now, doesn't it? It says, May 2022, the US economy entered an economic downturn. Bitcoin and Coinbase followed, each dropping 70% from their highest value. It's weird that then the next end screen goes to June 2022. So it's really like they're cherry picking these data, I assume, or they're just doing a really weird thing at the end. Either way, it's in poor taste and potentially manipulative. June 2022. As a result, Coinbase laid off 18% of its workforce. Well, you know, it's about time you fired the people who couldn't figure out how to keep the site from crashing whenever crypto was going up. And people that were working there for 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, for 8 years and couldn't come up with the idea to anticipate how many people would come into crypto during the next bull cycle. Yeah, probably should have fired way more than that. August 2022, despite the challenges, Brian continues to build with Coinbase, reaching over 100 million users. That's a really weirdly worded final note. It's super unclear if they have 100 million users now or what. But it sounds good. Cool. New milestone. Yeah. I guess, you know, you finally got rid of like those, you know, all those pesky users or kind of potential users that couldn't use your site, couldn't get signed up for years because of your AML KYC requirements, wanting to dox everybody and all that good kind of stuff. Now, I do have a love-hate relationship with Coinbase. Like, we do need fiat off-ramps, and you know, at least as far as I know, Brian Armstrong isn't out there like Sam Bankman-Fried is, trying to make DeFi illegal and kill the competition to his centralized exchange. But anyway, yeah. So the movie, it was, you know, so horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, but then again, some of you crypto nerds, you might like it. You might really start to appreciate what a real documentary would look like once we get the Richard Hart documentary coming out. So yeah, there we go. I know got a lot of people watching this live and a lot of people watching on the replay. So go ahead and drop a comment, as long as you're not a bot trying to scam people. We've had some of those lately, but here we go. Lazy Hexagon was the first to comment. Said, I'm too cheap to pay the $4 to see it, but I don't care if you spoil it either. By the time it becomes free, I'll have forgotten. The Highest of Stakes documentary will blow this way. I'm thinking the same. Jerry Oaksmith, happy Thursday. Likewise. I'm working late and I'm tired. I'm sure this stream will get me through my deadline. Hey, that sounds great. Yeah, I got to check it out now. See the train wreck. I mean, I don't know. I'm founding something. I want it to be successful. So from that perspective, it's kind of inspiring for me because I'm like, realizing, well, if that guy can do it, Brian Armstrong, like he can do something so big. I don't know. Maybe he got successful from selling out. Maybe he got successful from just being so early and having a good head on his shoulders. So, oh well. Like, I guess we'll see. We'll see how my thing does. My thing is Time Pays Me. You can learn more by going to twitter.com/timepaysme and reading the thread there. It's the closest thing I have to a white paper right now, but it's really important technology update for crypto to be able to time lock your Pulse Chain and Pulse X tokens, earn a trustless rewards, and be able to steal your vault back from a hacker, all while you're holding your own keys and not experiencing any inflation. There's no token or sacrifice or anything associated with it. And you can use it for free as long as you don't take an early payday, which is, you'll have to check out one of the focused videos to understand all the things that Time Pays Me will provide people. But I would hope that, if people really understand what the technology I'm creating allows, that we could get to 100 million users much faster. And thank Brian Armstrong for paving the way. Hey, Maddie, good evening. Appreciate all your great work. Well, thanks, Pepe. Appreciate it. Crypto has become an off-ramp. Now they want to take it. In crypto gets landed away from the open waters. Then I'll move away from crypto and keep all my hex as my personal trophy. There you go. ACH to a wallet, no KYC. MetaMask came out with something new recently. But if you're doing an ACH transfer, you're getting KYC'd at that point, I would pretty much guarantee. I was going to say guess, but like, I'm not guessing. It's like, if you're using the Swift system or ACH or anything like they have to know who you are, I think. RH is the Donut King in Hexco. Everybody eats. What's up, Nicholas Christopher? Yo, Maddie. Put my coins into Russian energy. Nico, question. If I lock my PLS or PLSX in Time Pays Me vault, I won't be able to stake and earn rewards in the case of PLSX at least. So people might think they lose out on money. Your thoughts? We don't know what staking PLSX is going to pay or what it's going to cost. And it could be that some forms of staking PLSX, remember, it's not out yet. So it's not final. And it was a sacrifice. So we won't know until it's here exactly how it works. Now, I can bet you that things that are working on testnet are likely going to be similar to how they work in the real deal when Pulse Chain launches. But look, Pulse X staking isn't even available anymore. It was tested out. It showed that it worked. And I don't remember, nobody's like been able to tell me whether it involved impermanent loss. So if you can lose something by staking it, and hexagons aren't used to that except for like emergency end staking, which is a decision you make. When you provide liquidity and do that form of staking, which is sometimes called farming, you could lose the most valuable token in the pair that you've created. So I would, yeah, you can't time lock something and suffer impermanent loss. because by definition, to be a liquidity provider and get rewarded for that, you're saying that anybody can come along and take your coins if they give you something else in return. So that's not an unlocked situation. And it involves risk. What I'm talking about is a technology to help you time lock whatever portion that you don't want to lose to trading or to staking, when you can lose the primary the single-sided coin that you're using. Now, there's other forms of staking where they're just trying to get people to lock up their coins and providing an incentive for that, because people know that time locking things makes them more valuable because they're more scarce in the here and now. And so if PulseX is going to be using that type of staking, then where you can't lose your principal, then there's a chance that it could be compatible with Time Pays Me, and you could get paid two different forms of bonuses, because you'd have the incentive token or whatever PLSX is paying you in. And then with Time Pays Me, if you have your coins locked and you don't take the 10% temptation, which is the early payday, like at any time you can take 10% out. But if you take that out, then you stop getting the fees from everybody else who takes their 10% out. And taking your 10% out is going to cost you 1% of your principal, which is 10% of the 10%. And so I've proven with math and modeling of what Hex has already done in the past 3 years. I've proven that even a super small fee, maybe even way smaller than what is designed here, could lead somebody to get massive gains over 15 years, to the point where you could possibly serve 90% of your time in Time Pays Me, and you're getting dripped your tokens, except for that 10%. You're getting dripped all along the way. So you could be dollar cost averaging out over 15 years, and then just from the impatience of others paying you a small fee in PLSX that's appreciating, if Pulse Chain goes up 10,000x in USD value, you could end up with a situation at the end of your time lock where you've gotten 90% of your principal out through the drip, and you still have 100% of your principal left, because other people are paying you this fee, and that's time locked throughout the entire time. So it's it's really exciting, the incentive that I've built in, which is not an incentive that comes from inflation. It's not something that comes from a token. It's just being paid by other people. And the way that that's still fair and everybody wins is the people who are paying that amount, they're benefiting from the fact that other people have time locked their coins, and that holds the price up for the person who's trying to sell their 10% at it, at any time. So that is where the value gets created, is by game theory. It's like everybody, like, how can the most people win? The most people can win just by locking up your coins and then paying a small fee if you break your promise to keep the 10% locked up. Can we only lock PLS or PLSX or any coin? Our current design says that Time Pays Me will be compatible with any ERC or PRC20, and we're going to talk about it most in the context of Pulse Chain and PulseX, because those are both designed to be deflationary. And there's already a huge community that's within Pulse Chain and PulseX who appreciates time locking of Hex, but it's also going to overlap with a group of people who don't like or understand or know about Hex. And so this will get them one step closer, I hope, to time locking with Hex. So that could be pretty great. Fiat sucks. A totally decentralized financial system is impossible. We will win, Maddie. I hope so. Do you seriously think the spot price of Bitcoin is not being manipulated by entities that do the majority of their trades at an OTC desk. Is the spot price really neutral? I don't know. Selling $100 billion worth of Coinbase, or I guess that was the market cap when they IPO'd. But the actual amount of value that they extracted, billions of, what was it? 3 billion? Let me go back and look. 3.5 billion notional, which normally doesn't mean realized. So I guess we still need a final number, but look, $3.5 billion worth of orders for Coinbase stock going through all at once. It's no wonder that they made the top on the day and that crypto went into a downturn. Thoughts on PLSD price run up and all that burned Pulse Dogecoin? It hasn't been explained to me in a very simple way yet. I've already said on my show that I didn't like necessarily all the marketing that was happening with Pulse PLSD. Initially, I really loved the idea of airdropping hex holders. And then I saw like people who were marketing it in uncouth ways. So, yeah, so I kind of lost some of my enthusiasm for that product. I still have respect for how it was launched. I still think it was a very valuable thing for hexagons to get. And, meme coins work out sometimes. I like Hex. I talk about Hex. I invest in Hex. When I get airdrops, I put some of the money into Hex, and then sometimes I save some of the coins. Both out of respect for Hex and for the other coins. I mean, if it's designed super well, then it'll go up, whether people sell it or not. The people who will buy it, will believe in it the most. Sam Bankman gave a donation of $200 million to the president of the United States. Second largest donation in 2020. That's wild to me. That's crazy. How's that legal? Cole, has anyone seen any hex marketing in any other major languages with large retail populations? Russian, Chinese, Hindi, etc. I don't know. I'm bad at foreign languages, so it's not something I've been keeping track of, although it's super important. If you want to help everybody in the world, well, that means more than just the people in your country or my country or whatever. Sideshow Bob says that Brian spent over $100 million on a house. That I could see how you'd be disgusted by that. Sam Bankman is coming into town and RIP DeFi. He's going after DeFi. If that happens, oh boy, big issues for Pulse and Hex. I mean, people have been scared about government regulations forever. There's some reason to be, there's reasons not to be. I think, like, if you made it this far in the bear market, I can't give you financial advice, but I can tell you've been through some stuff, and most financial things that are legitimate, they recover after a while. Okay, yeah, I knew that there were several Spanish speaking channels. Yeah, so what do you all think? You can leave a comment if you want to weigh in on the Coinbase documentary. Did you see it? Do you plan to see it? Are you looking forward to the Highest of Stakes documentary? what's got you excited these days? For me, what I'm excited about right now in crypto, I'm excited about Hex. Hex is 94% off the all-time high price. It's got a community that is relatively stronger than any other crypto community in terms of the retention. And that's because people time locked. That's because there's so many people who get it. You know, Twitter and social media, it can be a place that sometimes gives you really good information, and other times it misrepresents what the majority of people are really thinking. And what I see when I look around the crypto space is that there are a lot of people who really believe in Hex, and that makes me excited because that's something I believe in too. I will be organizing the 3rd annual online Hex conference coming up on January 6th through 9th. Not many details have been announced yet, although the goal is that I want to again break the world record for the greatest number of crypto channels that are all participating in one online event. And to do this, I hope that we can create more Hex YouTubers. And so I've started a series called How to Be a New Crypto YouTuber. And I'm giving away all my secrets and tricks. And I really care about it because it's part of me paying forward something great that happened to me, which is being able to build a platform and to get to be a leader in the community. And I think the more people can do their part to onboard and to tell their story, to give their perspective, I love the idea of doubling the amount of Hex YouTubers. And so that's the goal. And oddly enough, I did get some pushback on that, which maybe was, I guess it wasn't really expected. Anyway, if you want to be a part of becoming a Hex YouTuber, if you want to learn how, if you want me to teach you and train you to be an awesome Hex YouTuber, if you're already better than me in some ways, you might still want to join so that you can, just have more information and see as things change. It seems like the more attention I pay to how things go down on YouTube, like even with software updates in the past couple of weeks, there's been some changes in how stuff shows up. And so it could be really important to have this resource for people. Go to t.me/HexYouTube. If you want to get like 1 or 2 or 3 messages from me each day in my channel, giving you updates about Time Pays Me and all the other things I care about in crypto, I normally just share it with my group that has the most alpha. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to start promoting a different Telegram. We might already be there. I'm not going to check right now, but after this, I'll check. And if we made it to 1,000, then I'll stop promoting this Telegram. And then, that might be where all the OGs end up in a couple of years. It's like people who knew about this one. So if you're not in there yet, probably a lot of people already are. It's insane that just talking about it a handful of times on my show, which gets viewed by only it's like awesome numbers, but it's like there's about 2,000 people who watch the show every week, and there's already 980 people who signed up for the Telegram. Those numbers are off the charts. Like, first of all, how am I even still getting the same number of views in a bear market? We're down 94%. And that's one way that I know and hope that people aren't getting wrecked by the information on this channel. It is just that. It's information. It's free speech. It's not financial advice. But you look at other YouTube channels and they're not doing so well. They must have gotten a lot of people wrecked if people who just didn't unsubscribe. They've got millions of subscribers and they only get thousands of views. And Hexicans can have thousands of subscribers and get thousands of views as well. So yeah, so check out Smart Vault Me, which was the old name of the project. That's the Telegram that gives you all the alpha. Hextonio Banderas. Hey, Maddie, hope you're well, man. Hey, likewise. I hope you are too. I think a lot of profit in PLS and PLSX will end up back in Hex. Could be. Hex is the way. Saying Hex is the way. I'm looking forward to being able to share the highest of stakes documentary with no corners. Totally. Looking for Richard Hart's. There you go. Yeah, Richard Hart is... it's not even that he's coming out with his own documentary. A documentary was made about him, independently funded. He didn't pay for any of it. He just made himself available, gave them access, which is like the best way a documentary can be done. It's like really impressive. Richard is more impressive than any other crypto founder by far. It's not even close. Okay. Jerry says there are still 30 spots left at t.me/smartvaultme. Well, there you have it, folks. I have reviewed the documentary. I am not sure if this stream will get some new people watching who are in crypto and bored and they don't care that I have Hex Therapy in the name. They're curious about the Coinbase documentary. And so I'm going to try to keep this one not so many hours so that more people are likely to click on it. But with that being said, next week is going to be 100 weeks of streaming for me continuously, every Tuesday and Thursday night. So make sure to come out and check it out. If you want to know all of the resources that I have available, you can go to allmylinks.com/allin. And that's where I keep all the goodies. Outro music. Here we go. Yeah, so Hex is bouncing around in the 3-cent range, almost acting like a stable coin these days, but might not stay that way forever. I wouldn't be surprised if Hex shot up way higher, or if it did a capitulation wick and then went up after that. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I like dollar cost averaging, even in these times when we have uncertainty. It's being down 95% is a cool place to be if you want to be more long-term minded. That's what matters. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this saved you from the horror of watching the Coinbase documentary at all, or watching it and drinking the Kool-Aid, I guess. Remember what real crypto is. Real crypto is being decentralized, being censorship resistant, and it's not lying. It's like you can verify things, so you don't lie about having like low fees. You just, but that's something that's important for the world, for people who can't afford $50 or $5 or even 50 cents for a transaction. And I mean, real crypto, shouldn't be doxing you, right? Privacy is an important part, and then storing value. And I don't know that anything stores value from a technical point of view better than Hex, because you can prove that you've stored the value when you time lock it, and then that proves that you believe, because the proof is on the blockchain instead of just being in a broken narrative. So I guess that's what we learned today. I don't know. I might stream on Saturday. Maybe I might stream on Saturday. about how to stream, but we'll keep bringing out those episodes as we can get them. What's your thought on buy and burn PLSX with deflation? You can buy and burn more coins when the price of PLSX is low. It's a percentage of the fee that you pay to swap. So the more swap volume there is, the more it gets bought and burned. It's not based on like what the price of PLSX is, although if the price goes up, then there might be more people using it, trying to get into it and that sort of thing. I think that because it has to do with swap volume, it'll vary based on that. So you can look at a chart, like how that goes with different market cycles, and then it really matters. Like you can compare it to different places like SushiSwap, Uniswap, different places, like different protocols. Although a lot get routed through each other nowadays if they have competitive prices anyway. So maybe you could just look at the overall. So that's an interesting question though. Thanks for asking. All right. Until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
It's from ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
ALLin's got that covered. He does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff, like as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like he helps heal people.